Hello and welcome to Columbus Local Podcast. I'm Len D'Amico, and this is episode number 65. And it is my great pleasure to introduce my friend, Stacey Vermilion.
Hi, Lynn.
Stacey, how are you?
Hi, Lynn. I'm happy to be here.
I'm really glad that you made it.
Yeah, me too.
We've got history. We'll talk a little bit about that. I think as part of your journey through music in Columbus, Ohio.
Right.
But I think you've got some stuff currently, if I'm not mistaken. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Right. Well, I was in Dolly Dagger for about 20 years. I was the lead singer of Dolly Dagger, and also the lead singer of a band called Detroit Clutch and an acoustic band called Honeywood as well. And I was diagnosed with MS recently. Prior to that, I was having some problems with just standing on stage. You know, when you're a rock singer, you want to stand for the songs.
Yeah, believe you me.
And people were being very patient with me and letting me sit some of the time, but I realized that's not going to work to sing rock that way. So I quit. Then I was diagnosed with MS after breaking my tailbone. And so then I haven't been performing, and it's been about a year and a half, and I definitely have the itch to get back into it. And luckily, my brother is an awesome guitar player. He's also a singer. He plays and sings in his church band. So he's wanting to branch out a little bit. And so we've decided to start an acoustic band together. We haven't even come up with a name yet, but I'm thinking something Spicer. We'll see. That's my maiden name.
That sounds great to me.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I've met your brother. He's a great guy. He's a great guitar player too.
Mm-hmm.
And your mad skills are centered on fronting either bands or in an acoustic duo. You're a lead vocalist.
Yep.
And you're one of my favorites in Columbus, Ohio.
Oh, well, thank you, Lynn. That's a high compliment coming from you. I appreciate
come on.
that. You know.
Well, I mean, the acoustic project. It sounds like it's just initiating, right?
That's correct.
So
we just started.
You're trying to figure out, what you're going to sing, what
Exactly.
you guys are going to perform, and so we'll look forward to that release, and some of the shows that you guys will have scheduled, I'm sure. Where, Stacey, did music start for you?
Well, I've sang all of my life. I've sang in different, chorus and church and with my family and stuff like that. But then I met my ex-husband, who was a big, music buff.
Guy. Yeah.
And he played guitar, and I would sing with him, and a friend of his, we would play and sing together. And it just got to the point where it kind of graduated from that. And he was like, you need to put an ad on Craigslist, back in Craigslist days. And who answered the ad, lo and behold, was Len D'Amico.
Oh my gosh. That was your first music?
That was my first band with you.
Oh my gosh.
Yep.
I didn't realize, or I forgot that.
Yep, you and David Rose. And Jason, what was Jason's last name that was with us, the bass player?
I thought that it might have been, there were a couple guys on bass.
Uh-huh.
But I thought Dan DeSantis maybe started.
Oh, yes, that's right.
And then there was a gentleman who, his name escapes me, I forget. But at any rate, we really got a lot of stuff together. But the first time we met, Stacey, it was a Craigslist encounter.
I know.
For music. And we met at the Park of Roses, right?
Yep,
because it
that's
was
right.
a big open space, and it was
outside.
I
yep.
wanted to make sure that you were comfortable with surroundings and whatnot. And I brought an acoustic guitar, and I remember meeting, and we just kind of started playing to see if we had any.
I remember saying, "Do you know any
music.
Zeppelin?" Because, of course, that's always my go-to. It still is and always has been. Led Zeppelin. I grew up with it and loved Led Zeppelin. And you played Lemon Song.
Really?
On the acoustic, yes.
Oh, yeah.
I remember that. And there are people, gathering around us and stuff. And I was like, okay, where can we do this next? What are we going to do next? And there's where the Dolphin came in.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Dolphin Lounge was a big part of... easy accessibility, right, on a big stage with a great sound system, and meeting other musicians.
Right. It was a great way to meet other musicians and to gather musicians for a band.
Sure thing.
So we had Rob Hofacer was our drummer.
Oh, yeah.
And he's an incredible drummer.
Yes, he is. Love Ron.
And then we had David Rose.
On bass, right?
Yep. And eventually he played drums.
Yes.
And but yeah, I remember our first show. We were a blues band. It was before I ever did any rock.
Okay.
I mean, I kept trying to get Led Zeppelin in there because I was like, Led Zeppelin has blues, we can make that. Well, we finally just were like, let's just do rock because we want to play rock.
Yeah.
But in the beginning, it was blues. And I remember our first show was at Canal Winchester Labor Day Festival.
That's right.
And it was about 101 degrees, without exaggerating. You guys had to keep your guitars in one of the pizza shops so that it did go out of tune every 5 minutes,
snap.
which they did.
Stacey, I was so sick. I was so sick
Were
that
you?
day. I had the worst fever.
What a terrible
and I
day
was
to be sick.
Sweating like it wasn't nerves. It was fever, like literal fever. But that was
yet
a
you
fun
still
gig.
did it.
It was
Yeah.
a great gig.
It was fun, even though I thought I would die from the heat, but it was still fun. Yeah, it was great. And then we did something in New Albany at the Golf Club in New Albany. We did a blues show there, I remember. And then we did that place that was freezing. They didn't have any heat. It was about 30 degrees.
Right.
And we played that show, and you played in 2 or 3 other bands that night. So you were playing all night.
Yep.
And then we played, and then that was it.
Well, that was it because I had a car accident.
I know.
And I hit a pole at 40 miles an hour at like 2 o'clock in the morning. And
which is because you were frozen all night, and then you got into your warm car and tried to drive home.
And
so of course you fell asleep.
It was 2 o'clock in the morning. It was a bad accident. It totaled a vehicle that I had. Yeah, that was interesting. And I didn't have brain shearing.
You had a concussion.
But I had a
really bad one.
concussion.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that put a damper on the project, and then I think everybody moved on. And rightfully so. I didn't know if I was going to be able to return.
Well, that's when we found Jen Wilkinson. And to this day, she's definitely one of the very best guitar players I've ever... I won't ever say she's not the best guitar player. I mean, she's incredible. She plays, I think, still in a band that tours the United States called Little Skinnerd.
Oh, nice.
A Skinnerd tribute band. But she's just incredible. But yeah, I've had amazing guitar players, starting with you. I've been lucky to have really great personnel in my bands. I started Dolly Dagger soon after that because I decided I need to sing rock. Blues is awesome, and I'm happy that that's where my beginnings were, but I needed to go on to rock because that's what's in my heart, is singing rock. So
when you're singing, it's an extraordinary thing to witness because you're gifted.
Thank you.
And you really are. You're captivating, and it's wonderful to know that I had something to do with getting helping you get out there, and I didn't really realize that until we just started talking about it. But my point is, it's good to know that you're still planning to get back out.
Right. Yep. And so I graduated on Dolly Dagger. I was in Dolly Dagger for close to 20 years. And at the same time, I was the lead singer of a band called Detroit Clutch. And Clutch unfortunately died from leukemia a few years back. So Detroit Clutch stopped. And then my MS has stopped me from performing with Dolly Dagger. But I just can't stay away from it. I need something. And so my brother, to be able to play with my brother, that's a gift too, to have that, to have him by my side will be a huge thing for me. I'm happy to have that and to have an outlet again. This is an outlet. this is a great outlet for you and a great outlet for Columbus area musicians who you've interviewed. This is fun. And plus, I'm happy to see you again, Lynn. You know, it's been a long time.
It has been a long time. I think the last time face-to-face was a Dolly Dagger show, which was some time ago, but not too long. When were all your recordings for Dolly Dagger happening?
Oh my gosh, we recorded many times.
Yeah, but like the last time you guys played out, that's probably the last time I saw you face to face.
Did you see us with David or with Matt? Matt's still one of my best friends. He and I still get together and record and play some. So I actually have a couple of irons in the fire with Matt.
Good.
Recording a song that I wrote a long time ago. So we're developing that as well. Matt was my guitar player in Dolly Dagger for a few years, and he was also my guitar player in Detroit Clutch for a long time, along with Clutch. So, and then there's been Chuck Ritchie, David Nason. He was in a Led Zeppelin cover band before he came to play with Dolly Dagger.
Wow.
So I was like, okay, he is the one.
I bet he plays a good Lemon song.
Oh my gosh, he can play anything Led Zeppelin. He is amazing. But yeah, and John Stone, John Mediatore is he was our guitar player after Jen, and then he wasn't our guitar player for a while because he records. He's an amazing guitar player, and he has some albums out of him.
Very cool.
Yeah, so, and then we had a reunion. We got back together and practiced for a while and had a reunion show, and that was a lot of fun to get back together with those guys because I miss all of them. Chris Henshaw, Bob Klein Bob Klein was my drummer for a long time.
Did not know that. He's with the Rock House drummer.
Yes.
What a great guy he is.
He's an awesome guy and
a great player.
What an amazing drummer. I was so lucky to have him for as long as we had him. And Drew Burgess was our drummer after Bob, and Drew is an incredible guitar player. Drummer, not guitar player.
I think I got him to you, if I'm not mistaken.
Maybe.
I think I did. We can have him confirm it, but I remember him asking for who's looking, and I think around the same time you said, "Hey, who's a good drummer?" And I think maybe that might have been
funny
a
because
hook up there with the talents.
Katie and the Red Hots drummer. It was the drummer before their drummer now, John. He came to try out, but Drew tried out first. And we fell in love with Drew. And then John was like, "Oh, should I even play now?" And I was like, "If you want to, but we already love Drew. I'm sorry." So
how did
that's
he
what
know?
happened.
Was he sitting in the rehearsal?
Yes.
Oh, he was.
And he could tell that we just clicked so well with Drew.
Well, how can you not with Drew Burgess?
He's awesome guy and such a great drummer, yes. And then Eric Thompson, he was with Drew, and they just played in this little church band together. And he's like, "I don't know if we can play them both." And the first show we had, I was like, "You're my bass player now, right?" He's like, "Okay." And then he had to go tell the guys. But all of us together, we just all clicked so well, We wanted to practice together. We wanted to play together. And I think that shows in your shows when you enjoy being together.
Oh, for sure.
I really don't know anybody that I didn't really enjoy being in the band with. That's a must.
Yep. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. So that's where my music journey has been. It's been an incredible. I had Bruce Lines was my drummer in Detroit Clutch. We still all get together every once in a while, for a memorial for Clutch. He died of leukemia, and so then we had Art Chonko was our bass player, and then of course Matt Hayes, our guitar player. And Chuck Ritchie, sometimes we play with him. We got to open for Jackal at Muddy Creek. That was an incredible experience. Thousands of people. They're watching ahead, and then all of a sudden they turn, and here we are playing. And I was like, I just loved it.
You were ready to go.
I could play in front of thousands and thousands of people. I just love it.
Yeah. I would have loved to have seen that.
It was pretty cool.
It was the Lancaster Blues Fest times 1,000, right?
It was, it was pretty neat. They had, it was Jackal, so the place was packed. It was
Yeah,
sold
especially in
out.
that area, right? Where was that? What was
In
the
Heath.
venue? In Heath.
Muddy
like a
Creek.
is it a big outdoor?
It was. It's now a car dealership, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Which sucks because it was a great venue for all of us, to go there and play. But it was fun while it lasted.
Yeah, but it's the experiences, right? Mm-hmm. You have photos of that one?
We have video of it. Yeah,
so that's even better.
Yeah,
good deal.
And some photos. Yeah.
Where are they shared online somewhere? That's a big gig.
Believe so. I don't know. There's not a whole lot of my stuff online anymore. So I know there's a couple of shows. There's one we did at the Alrosa Villa. And we opened for Mary Jane, which was actually Eric Moore's band that played with him before the Gods resurrected.
Yeah.
Mary Jane played with Eric Moore when they played out. So we opened for Mary Jane, and that's how I became friends with Eric Moore. Is because we opened for Mary Jane a couple of times. We opened for Mary Jane and Saliva one show, so that was pretty cool.
What year approximately? Was that like 2007-ish, 8?
I think it's, like something like that.
That's what my guts tell me.
Because Eric was already sick.
Yeah.
And we went to go see them, and my ex-husband had a guitar that was the same guitar that Eric had when he played guitar. Because he played bass, but this was a regular guitar. And so we had Eric sign it, and that's when I met Eric and became friends with Eric. And we actually had a friendship for a while. We talked on the phone or on Messenger for quite a while, and we would talk about the Gods and all of his stories. He had some crazy stories. But then I played with Darren Lee. Darren Lee and I played a few shows together, and Darren Lee was in the Gods for a while. And so he had... One time we were practicing, and he called Eric. And he called Eric just to have Eric say, yes, this is true. And then they went on and on and on. The stories are just crazy. My favorite story that they told me was one time Darren, and I'm not sure of the other bandmate, but they were the Gods, and they were getting ready to play a show, and they were staying in a hotel, and they were going to do 2 nights starting the following night. So they were already at the hotel. So Darren and his friend, they got all dressed up and they were going to go out, and they got a call from Eric that said, I need you to come down here to my hotel room. And they're like, okay. So they go down there and they're like, what? And Eric is standing in his underwear with this giant Bible opened up, and he's like, now both of you get on your knees. And they're like, what? And he's like, I'm going to give you the sermon. And before he gives them the sermon, he dosed them both.
Oh my gosh.
Unexpectedly. So they're like, needless to say, we never made it out. We're all dressed up to go out, but we couldn't go out because they
were all plowed.
Right?
Oh man.
You gotta love that though. Those are real rock and roll stories, you know.
For sure. So you converse with Eric Moore for
about a year before he died.
Like right before he passed?
He was real sick. He was recording. He actually recorded an album right before he died, and he was doing recordings, and he actually had written a couple of songs that I was going to sing with him. And he had Dolly Dagger. We were playing at the barn with a whole bunch of other bands and stuff, and unfortunately, I never got to go see him because he was too sick. And I didn't realize how bad it was. And he actually had sent me a message before telling me that he'd had cancer and that it was terminal and that he didn't have much longer to live. And I was like, oh my gosh, are you serious? I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's how that. And then one day, there was no contact and Eric died.
Oh my. So you were actually making plans to help with some music.
Right. Yep.
That's really, really.
I'm just happy that I actually got to know him and got to talk to him.
Yeah.
And that I got to hear the stories from, their mouths, what happened. Because to me, that's such rock and roll,
It's rock and roll history.
Talking to him about he broke his leg from a motorcycle accident and he had his whole leg in a cast, but every time he'd sing he'd be wiggling across the floor until his cast fell off and he'd have to have his cast put back on, stuff like that. I'm like, that's so great.
Yeah, he was definitely a rock and roll star.
He was one of a kind.
Yeah, wow.
But those guys, I thought it was so impressive that you had all of the gods resurrected here. I mean, Julie Neal, she's definitely one of my favorite. Idolize her. I have since she's been in Rosie. And I've always been a huge Rosie fan. The gods were a little bit before my time. I'm a little bit too young to have seen them. But then I did get to see Rosie a few times.
That's cool.
And Rosie would have these private parties after their shows. And one time they had a party at Slapsy Maxie's. Do you remember Slapsy Maxie's out there? I love that place.
If you were like tooling around,
right?
In the 80s and 90s, right?
And I'd said, I'm a huge fan of Carl Sheeler, and I really want to meet him. And my ex had talked to Mark Chatfield a couple of times, and he happened to tell Mark, my wife is a huge fan of Carl's. So Mark goes and tells Carl, and Carl comes over to meet me, and I was just I couldn't even talk. I was just like, hi, Carl, like a little kid.
Starstruck.
Yes, totally starstruck.
Yeah.
And, and here's Mark Chatfield, and he's the superstar to come out of Columbus. He's amazing with Grand Funk Railroad. I can't believe it.
He's an amazing person. I was fortunate to meet him when we did that episode.
Those stories are incredible.
It was really, for me, it was just real quick because I want to get back to you, but that weekend I had an opportunity to go to the last the last concert that they had. There's going to be more, but the one that was scheduled anyway from that first album that they were supporting with some touring dates. It was in Cincinnati, and Julie Neal had made me aware of it and called me, I think, on a Thursday and said, you want to interview the whole band. And I was like, yes.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Let me move everything out of my schedule.
Pretty much, we got to do it on Sunday. And I was like, okay, I'll be ready.
Yeah.
So Beth and I, we scrambled. We put some of our mixing equipment together, glued them together. We set all of our mics up out in the dining room and,
nice.
Got prepared for a 6-person conversation, which, stretched my abilities in a lot of different ways.
Well, you did. It was so great.
We had a great conversation.
You did.
And it really, and I think everybody really shined there, and it really kind of got a sense of the personality of that band and the fact that it touched on the past and what they are today, and that it's fronted by a gentleman that, Doug Sav Ramey, who was kind of sort of handpicked to carry on the Gods music.
Right, I didn't know his history until I listened to your interview. I didn't realize all the California stuff, being out in LA. Yeah. Those stories are priceless.
Yeah, they are. And, and then they have a future painted for the band as well. And I think that conversation kind of pulled all that together, and it just showed the evolution and the refinement, and
right.
Even
it's been refined for
Mark
sure.
Chatfield made the comment that he's a guitar player that was who he was when he was a young man in the late 70s with the Gods, and where he is today, he's refined. And I think he's kind of spearheading that movement for the Gods and what the Gods' vision was, and you learn about all that in that conversation, and it really. It's good to know that you appreciated that. I appreciate your.
You have a lot of great interviews. I'm really honored to be here because I think you're doing a good job with this podcast, and it's awesome to have all of these interviews archived, for anyone to listen to, right? For the ages, it's awesome.
It's multi-purposed. Really, man. I was interested in podcasting. I wanted to do a topic that I was very passionate about, and so this, Columbus local music. There's a sense of camaraderie that is kind of on the surge, and the podcast kind of helps that move along a little bit, you know, and a lot of
How
people
I wish
comment.
you had been doing this years ago.
Well, somebody there are people that are doing it, but they're a little different slant than I think what I'm doing. I'm trying to just kind of get people's stories because I'm genuinely interested in that, you know, the story behind
You are a great
what
supporter
they're trying to do.
of rock music, and I really appreciate it, and I'm sure everyone appreciates that you and Beth go and support the bands and stuff like that. That's really
Well,
great.
you know, and what's interesting too is the Columbus music scene is beyond the rock genre, right? There's some folks that play country that I've had an opportunity to bring in. There's folks like O.C. Harris, even Sean Booker, you know, who are kind of historic projects from the past in the Columbus, Ohio area that are in different genres than rock. I've tried to be sensitive to the fact of that, and that there's more to it than the rock scene, you know. And I'm also finding too that sort of the population of those genres kind of represent, you know, the bandwidth, I guess, of each genre. Rock's very popular in Columbus. There's a little bit of country that's popular in Columbus, and there's definitely a funk and R&B,
Heavy metal,
R&B, and then there's heavy metal.
rap.
There's heavy rock, like, you know, I think Pettibone's a little on the heavier side. That two of those band members have come and done an episode. So I'm trying to make it as diverse, you know, to reflect the diversity of the community, as well as the individual interest of each musician that's out there, just you know, bringing it every
And I
time.
think that's great. And that was part of why I liked being with Detroit Clutch in addition to Dolly Dagger, because Dolly Dagger was straight rock. But Detroit Clutch, we did some blues and we did country, and then we did, you know, like Americana and stuff like that. And Clutch also wrote his own music, so we recorded an album together. He was the lead singer at the time. It was when I first joined the band, but I'm on there. I did the background vocals and stuff like that.
That's
so it's
cool.
pretty cool. And I'm really glad we have that, especially now that Clutch is gone. But, you know, just I like I started out in blues. So I like different genres. So it's nice that you represent all of those different ones. And this band that I'm in with my brother, it's not going to be just classic rock. I mean, as a matter of fact, we're trying to steer clear of it. So, you know, there's some country in there, like Tyler Childers, stuff like that we're
That's
doing.
cool.
Yep. It's different for me, but I like it.
Well, you'll figure it out too. You guys
Yep.
will work together to, you know, and really, hopefully, you're talking to the venues too as to what people are really looking for.
Well, I watch.
That too.
Right. I
always-
watch
you
to
always
see what
have.
people are playing, right,
Yeah.
and judge it by that. So,
Wow. Any other stories that you've come across along the way that you'd like to share? I mean, that's really interesting with your friendship with Eric Moore, and so some of the things and some of the funny
that guy was a
episodes,
character.
I'm sure. What was he like? What was Eric Moore like?
He was actually a gentleman. He never said anything like out of of a sexual nature or anything to me. He would say something like, "Hey, beautiful," or something like that. But that was, I mean, because I always thought, I'm just waiting for it to put them back, you know, put them in their place. If somebody says something like that, he never ever said anything. He was always a complete gentleman to me. It was always about stories and what songs he was going to write and what he was working on. He would run things by me, like, what do you think of this and stuff like that. And I always appreciate it because I'm like, it's freaking Eric Moore, you know? And so, yeah, it was just really awesome to talk to him. I enjoy talking pretty much any musicians, but when it's somebody like that, he's like rock royalty, you know, in this area. So is Mark Chatfield. All of the gods are. Those guys are just unbelievable.
Yeah, the current lineup definitely has a really cool dynamic
Mm-hmm.
there.
They sounded like it. You could hear it in your interview.
You need to try to get to one of their new shows.
I will.
They got some coming up.
For sure want to. Maybe I'll go with you and Beth.
That we might be able to pull that off.
There you go.
That'd be cool. When you were out with Clutch, that was out at the Buckeye Lake area, or
Yep.
out at Heath, right?
Yeah, we all lived in Newark and
okay.
Heath and would play generally around Buckeye Lake, but we also played a lot up at Indian Lake. So did Dolly Dagger. I love playing at Indian Lake. It's strange the similarities between Buckeye Lake and Indian Lake. Even some of the exits, the names of the towns are similar to, like, there's Valley View, and that was where we lived in Columbus and all this. But, you know, I'm sure you're aware of the tornadoes that went through Indian Lake and destroyed a lot of the stuff up there. And that was, I'm Kelly Rush and Nikki, I'm really happy that they've taken over, like, getting supplies up there, donations and stuff like that, because that broke my heart. That was a place that, one of our stomping grounds, you know.
Yeah.
We played at all kinds of places. My place we played a lot up there was Indian Lake Moose. And all of the community up there, all of those bars, they've just stepped up, you know, giving free meals and donations, and it's just amazing to see the people come together up there, and I'm really happy they have. But it really has broken my heart that, you know, a lot of the things up there have been destroyed.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's an unfortunate event that occurred with Mother Nature blowing through
Shocking.
there.
Yeah.
It was a shock, and you know, the Central Ohio Women Who Rock is a big part of helping with some of that. And that's a good cause.
Right.
Are you a part of that?
I am a
team?
part of
Okay.
that community, and I really wish that we had that years ago, because everyone supports one another. Everyone goes to each other's shows. They advertise for each other. You know, they talk about when they're going to play. Somebody will say, hey, who's playing this weekend? And they'll post their shows, and everybody will go. And then they help get, like, their shows and stuff like that. And I don't even know of too many other women that were fronting, and I apologize if there were, but I wasn't aware of too many other ones that were fronting rock bands when I started. And the first one that I was really aware of was Katie Zerby from Katie and the Red Hots. And then I was like, oh, well, that's cool. You know, we both have red hair and everything. And now there's so many. It's like an explosion of women who front bands. Sid Alexis, I want to go see her. That girl is amazing. All of them are. Kelly, Nikki,
Yes.
all of them
Yes.
are amazing. Beth, you know, I want to go see all these bands. I'm having trouble, you know, because of my MS. So that's kept me from really going out and doing a lot. But I'm going to start forcing myself to go to these
Well, I think you'd be a
shows.
welcome participant and or someone who helps, you know, sing a song. I mean, it's
Well, yeah.
amazing when you grab the microphone. And
Thank you.
I remember one time when I was guitarist in the Brighton Blues Band, and you guys came to the show. It was at Fats at
Oh, yeah.
over,
Yeah.
and
Fats
I
Billiards.
said to the guys, I'm like, Stacey Vermilion's here, and they're like, oh, that's cool. And I go, we got to let her sing. They're like, what do you mean? I go,
I know, that's usually the...
I go,
What do you mean?
just trust me, man. And I think, do you remember what song you sang? Was it?
I don't remember.
It was either a Zeppelin tune or a Stevie Ray Vaughan tune.
Probably Zeppelin.
Probably Zeppelin.
I think actually it was Cold Shot.
Okay,
So it
or
was a Stevie Ray Vaughan, yeah. Because everybody knows that. So I
and,
did that.
As soon as you started that first line, I think everybody just relaxed.
Right.
Like,
Does
don't
she even
worry
know how
about
to
it.
sing? Is usually the like,
Don't worry
yeah,
about it. You're going to be
just tell me what
blown
you know,
away.
and I'll start singing.
Yeah, and it was good. It was beyond good. It was awesome. You know?
Thank you.
Yeah, that was a moment to remember. You know, folks have to see you out there again, if at all possible. Because
I definitely want to.
You have such a gift, and and you share it, and you deliver with I don't know, conviction, or what am I trying to look for there? Just with purposed statement. Where'd you learn how to do that, Stacey? Like, you have a style. You have your style, but you're filled with confidence.
I grew up. My dad and my mom lived near one another, so even though I was at the time living with my dad, my mom had a piano. When we'd go over there, I would sing and play, and so I would beg. It was before computers and stuff, so I would beg for sheet music. I want some rock sheet music. I remember getting this really thick book for the piano. We'd play and sing. My sister would play and sing, and I'd play and sing. Her big song was Beth. And she'd play that, and I'd sing Beth. But yeah, that's pretty much where my roots started. My mom's a singer, and so she's the one who always played Motown, and Janis Joplin's her all-time favorite. So I grew up singing and playing, Janis Joplin. And then one of my best friends, Erin Taggart, she has 2 older brothers, and they had all these really awesome albums, Rush and Led Zeppelin, and that's where I first started listening to Led Zeppelin. I was hooked from the moment, I was like, Led Zeppelin, that's it. And that was like 12 years old.
There's good stuff in that.
Oh, yeah.
In that
so that's when it started. And I emulated Robert all of my life. I think that's why now I feel like I can sing it even better than guys can, because Robert can hit these super high notes, that a lot of people can't hit. I can hit those notes and sound like Robert, and I love it. So, any Led Zeppelin, come at me, I
know. This I know, man. I know firsthand. And
right.
I was fortunate
I was
to
like,
do that
Lynn,
with
what
you.
Zeppelin do you know?
Well, let's hit these 10, and then we'll go from there.
Right. So then I was
like
you are going to play guitar with me now, because Led Zeppelin and you're a great guitar player. So that's where we started.
Yeah, that's interesting. It really, and you've come a long way, and I really, a representation of what can happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a great story. And, here we are in our age bracket, and we're just trying to, do what we can to give back a bit.
Yep.
But also still do the best we can, right?
Yeah, because of the MS, it's made me find other outlets. So that's why I'm not a big writer, but I've had a few songs. And what's funny is when I write country. I have no idea why. Every song, I try to write a rock song, but it always turns out country. So I've got the song that I'm working on with Matt that we're going to record. So there's one outlet. And then I actually am writing a book. And the book is about the song Jolene. So it's what happens to Jolene after the song.
Oh, wow.
It's called Who Shot Jolene?
Really?
Who Killed Jolene, actually. Yeah. And I've already got the book written.
Really?
I'm working with the publisher to do the editing and stuff. So I'm hoping I'll have it out this summer. But there's another outlet, so and this is an outlet. This podcast is great that you have this outlet, and I'm happy to be here and honored to be here. And then my brother said, hey, how about we start doing an acoustic thing? And I'm like, hell yes.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So that's a great thing for me to have that also. But yeah, it's like you just can't stay away from it.
Well, it's a lot to look forward to too. And I'll have my eyes peeled.
Yep.
You're a painter as well, are you not?
Yep, I am an artist. I paint every day.
You paint every day?
Mm-hmm. I try to, yes.
Wow. Do you see any blank walls with any pieces that you have? I mean, Beth and I, we love art.
Oh, sure. If you want me to paint you something, I'm on it.
Look around. We got a lot of art. We have digital art that flashes.
Right.
But we also have some original paintings.
Yeah, you have some beautiful paintings in here. I love it.
They're kind of scattered about, but.
Yeah, I have an art page on Facebook. It's Stacey Spicer Vermilion, art page 2. My site got hacked last summer too. So last summer my Facebook got hacked, so my Dolly Dagger page got hacked, my Detroit Clutch page, a whole bunch. I've been in a whole bunch of bands. We were in a band with my cousin, and it was a blues band, and it was Spicer, what's he would call it, Spicer Family Band. And so, but that page got hacked. I had pages that I ran for some of my friends like Matt and Chuck Ritchie, and those pages got hacked. And so I've just started over. I just had to suck it up and let it go. So it's been a fun few months finding out I have MS. I broke my tailbone, then I found out I have MS, then my site got hacked. I was like, what else can happen? But I'm okay.
I've always said recently that aging is not for the weak. You know, you're a strong person, and you know, I know that you're going to continue to artistically do the best you can.
Right.
Well, we'll definitely look forward to your music as part of the music community to continue as well when you're able to really be able to do that full blown.
I'm almost there. I think I was
Good.
just shell shocked. Like, what? You know, what's going on? And then, you know, they make you go to all these tests and doctor appointments and physical therapy. And I'm in physical therapy now, which is a godsend. I love my physical therapist. She's helping me a lot. So hopefully I'll be back to being able to be more mobile than I have been soon. I'm hoping. But other than that, I'm still going to do this with my brother. We're having fun right now just practicing and getting songs together. We're going to start going out to open jams and stuff, and then we'll start scheduling shows, and you'll be the first one to know when that happens.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
I'd look forward to it for sure. You know, what do you want to leave with your listeners about music in Columbus area?
Well, I think it's awesome how many girls are now leading rock bands. Go see some of them. They're amazing. Every single one of them that I've listened to. I mean, look at Nikki Reber and Radio City. They were the QFM 96 house band, and Kelly Rush and Phoenix Rising. I mean, they're like the elite with God's Resurrected, all of those I see, you know. And then we've got all of these other girls that do, like Julie Neal's band, Late Night Alibi.
Stage 5 Clinger.
Yeah, and Megabeth. You know, all of these bands, there's just a plethora of really great music out there. We've always had great music in Columbus. And it's just such a rich community. And I'm really proud of our girls that there's so many of them leading these bands, because there really weren't a lot of them years ago. I found that kind of difficult coming up. You know, I did it for 20 years. So in the beginning, it was like, what? Even my friends were like, what do you mean you're singing rock? Why don't you just sing blues? Like, that's a girl thing to do, you know, just sing blues. And I was like, no, I'm singing rock. I don't care.
Good for you.
And I always thought if I did have another rock band, this was before the MS thing, but I always thought if I ever left Dolly Dagger and started another band, it would be Stacey DC, because I love singing AC/DC. It would be all AC/DC and Led Zeppelin. But luckily for everybody, that didn't culminate.
It's all good, though. That's good. It's all good.
Right.
Well, Stacey, I think that... again, you know, I really appreciate you coming out tonight, and I am really looking forward to your next music venture, to continue to grace us with your beautiful voice.
Thank you.
And your performance. And as far as episode number 65, I can't thank you enough for coming.
Thank you. I'm completely honored. Thank you.
And sharing everything. All right, Columbus Local Podcast, episode number 65. Thank you all for listening. Stacey Vermilion, we appreciate you being here.
Thank you, Lynn.
Bye-bye. Thanks for listening.